Welcome to Conversations about Crystal Healing with Silbey. I'm Becca Reed. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be here. Actually, I think this time we won't talk about crystals specifically as much as healing itself and that mind-body connection. And there's so much that's interconnected. And when you go to do your crystal healing or any kind of metaphysical healing, you have to be aware of these connections.
And just as a human going through life, it's good to be aware of these connections.
Oh, totally.
They're affecting you whether you know it or not.
Yeah, they're affecting you emotionally, vibrationally. If you're in a really tense, busy work environment like that, you may find yourself getting sick all the time because there's an onslaught of these negative vibes coming. And, we're essentially vibration. I mean, at essence, we're probably, more like space. But that aside, we're essentially vibrations. So we're affected all the time vibrationally by our environment. Even when we're doing
electromagnetic fields, like not weird ones, but you have a field and others have a field, and your fields come together, and
objects have fields.
Yeah. So you can be entrained to a negative field pretty easily. I guess that sounds very weird, but
but you can. No.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to look at your habitual thinking processes too. I mean, if you're habitually, oh, poor me, the glass is half empty. And I know it sounds trite, but you can, focus on the half full part. And it's so important because if you're going around life, oh, poor me, or I'm to this, or I'm to this, no one likes me, I'm on and on and on. You bombard your electromagnetic field with negativity and you'll get sick on one level or another.
Yeah. And it's your words too. Word, if you always say, well, that'll never work for me, or I'm not going to be able to do that. If you don't speak positively about yourself, and if you don't, who will?
Who will?
It
maybe the family dog will give you a nice woof.
There's a really interesting study, just off the thing for just a second, about I do HeartMath, and it's kind of a biofeedback sort of thing where you breathe and you set your intention and your kind of mindset, and you get coherence in your heart rate, and that gives you it's sort of like the same. It's kind of like meditation, but it's meditation does different things to your brain than this does. But it still makes you kind of peaceful and open and happy. And they've measured when people are alone and when their dogs enter the room. And when their dogs enter the room, their heart coherence entrained with the dog, because the dog is
so nice.
And they get happy, and they get a slower heart rate, and they're breathing more regularly, and it just makes a big difference. So
and when they get happier, the dogs get happier, so they get even happier, and it's a loop.
That's the great circle, is if you are out, making people happy, that's another study, that big happiness study. If you compliment people, that makes them happy. They can't help it. And they'll say something nice to you, which will make you happy. So an easy way to get happy is compliment some strangers, and you will have a reciprocal happiness thing going on there.
Because if they're unhappy, say, and they've got this dark, or that feels like sludge, they're unhappy. You come in contact with that and you pick that up into your aura. So it's not unusual to, or I don't feel good, or, now say if you're sick or you have an imbalance in your body, you have a disease going on, whatever, you're going to have less of you're not as strong in your aura. So it's like more permeable to bring in these negative vibrations. Now, that said, I was just thinking how when you do a meditation, say, or guided visualization or positive words or whatever, I was just thinking how you just improve yourself vibrationally, and the more that gets better, the more it's just this endless circle. And when we do healing work with crystals and stones, I just don't plop the stone on at all. I do a lot of work with the mind and expectancies. So much of healing, for instance, is preparing an expectancy that you are going to be healed in the way you want and need.
Yeah.
Any shamanic work I've done, and I've worked with a lot of shamans and medicine men and women and so forth, more of the healing in many, many times deals with preparing the person to be open enough. And by the way, it also, as you doing the healing, it prepares you better too, because you sort of go out of yourself, so you don't have this sort of sense of self-importance, like, I'm going to do this and it's not going to work.
Yeah, the healer. Yeah, I'm the healer. Yeah, it's an interesting thing because it works. It's sort of like the placebo effect, which is very effective.
Very effective.
It's a whole, and hypnosis is the same way. It's the preparation sets your mind up to accept, or perhaps to allow, healing, and to expect it, and you intend to be healed. And if that whole preparation goes right, then when the application comes, it works. It would work anyway, but it works.
Sometimes not. If a person is resistant,
that's true.
Very, very hard to affect a healing. If someone's got like an iron aura, I call it, it's just, you go in with your stones and your intention, it's like boing. So it's just going to be very hard to have a healing work. And the same with the negative attitude,
if you don't think it's going to work, it's not
I'm
going
working
to.
with that there's a payoff for a negative attitude. Like if you're just the worst person in the world, that makes you important.
Because you're
the worst sort of sense, but you are important if you're the one person in life that no one can ever love.
You're
special. So you have to shift that before you can do anything. And then once you are working with someone on healing, I'm sure you've experienced this, the healing may not happen like they expect it to happen.
No, and sometimes it happens later.
And a lot of times later. So if the attitude then shifts, like, it'll never happen to me. No, you have to keep the attitude.
I think what happens, and this is just I would love to know your theory on this, but when it happens later, I think it's just because they've stopped focusing on it. And when they focus on it, they have a question in their mind and they are detracting. And once they stop looking at it, then it happens.
It doesn't work. Because once you change something vibrationally, that affects all the other vibrational rates around. It's like throwing a stone in a pond and you get the endless ripples. So once you start that process, it'll keep working unless there's a blockage. So again, that's why I'll do multiple healings too. One builds upon another. If you drop another stone in the pond, then you get even more ripples. And also I look for blockages. Have they erected a new blockage? If someone's used to being depressed all the time, for instance, it's going to be kind of scary to experience not being depressed, because there's a certain safety in an emotion that you know about, even if it's negative.
That's an interesting idea. What would happen if I were happy? Like I'd be out of control, maybe?
You'd be out of control. That's one way. That's one way.
And people expect me to be this way. And
or it hurts to have my heart open and vulnerable, either because of past things that happened, or just vulnerability is tough for you. You're so open, So that's why at the end of the healing too, when people are wide open, I always ground them, but I go across the heart like this to just sort of put a little shielding on there.
Yeah.
You don't want every impulse in the world to come into your heart chakra. It's just
no, you sure don't. Not if you're going out in the public.
unless you know that you are all of it, then it doesn't matter, but that's different.
Not many people know that. So let me ask you this is, so it's, one thing I found, with hypnosis, I don't know why it keeps coming up today, but it just in the back of my mind is, there are studies that show it's easier to be hypnotized after you've been hypnotized a few times. So there is a technique where you can hypnotize somebody really quickly, bring them out, put them back in, bring them out, put them back in, bring them out, put them back in, and then they go very deeply on the third time.
Yeah.
So do you think that, I mean, that's a subconscious kind of thing, but I would think that would carry over into other types of healing, is just by doing it and having that little experience that was positive, a little experience is positive, and kind of building up your trust or your confidence in receiving that kind of healing.
Yeah. And I used to travel all over the world putting on workshops and stuff, and some rooms I go into and I want to get people sort of more in an altered state. I use bells and stuff. Sound is great to work with. And some places I would go and they're open. A room full of meditators, takes a bell, Other times I go in and I do it and I do it, and then I try deeper tones, and then I, really, try to sort of grab onto that consciousness. And there's a resistance, not consciously, but just it's not familiar and you haven't done it a lot. And there's a lot of fear of letting go of control.
Yeah.
It's same in hypnosis. You talk about that. No, I don't want to be hypnotized. I'll be out of control.
You won't be.
There are some of us that love to be out of control, and others.
Well, those are the people that will be hypnotized. Like, that's the thing. If you see someone, clucking like a chicken because they've been hypnotized, they've wanted to do that. They just haven't had.
They're having fun.
An excuse. So they like to be on stage, and that's why they can be hypnotized. If you didn't want to be, you wouldn't be, and you would never do it.
And the same with meditation and anything if say you're working with a spiritual teacher and he or she suggests something that just isn't in harmony with you, just not right, but they're your teacher or everybody else likes them, it's not right. It's not right for you. And it's even in that case, you will generally not do what you wouldn't do. I mean, if a teacher or a hypnotist says, "Oh, go kill that guy," you
never do that.
You wouldn't. Unless you've had years and years and years and years and years of grooming, then possibly, but it's reframed in a way.
Yeah, you'd have to want to. Yeah, you won't really do anything under hypnosis that you don't want to do.
No, not at all.
You're in control. You hypnotize yourself. No one can hypnotize you either. You do that.
See, for me, that's what got me into meditation, because I've told this story before. I was in junior high and they did
that's right.
I volunteered. I did that catalepsy where I just had my head and my feet on two chairs and space underneath me, and that full-grown man stood on me.
And that works.
Yeah, I mean, I was willing to have that happen, but part of me was like, yeah, right. I weigh 90 pounds, but, and after that, I realized the mind is so powerful. So you talk about healing, we have to work with the mind.
Yeah.
And when you work like with visualization, I do a lot of visualization. The mind doesn't know the difference between, say, what's real or not real. And so if someone's open, you can easily create a reality that would be beneficial for them, that they would enjoy.
Yes. And that is really a wonderful thing. I mean, there is a lot of benefit in that. And especially if you can help people relax before they take a test, or help people. Exactly. I mean, even in little ways, it is, your mind is so powerful, and it really is in control.
Well, you were talking about something that I thought was very interesting. You mentioned, like, if someone, say, has a little pain someplace, say they got a pain in their head, right? So they
Yes.
go on Google, they look up pains in head, and they go on and on and on. By the time they're through, they're convinced they've got brain cancer.
Yep.
And then they're walking around going, oh, I have brain cancer, or do I have brain cancer? Or
And worse, they've seen
more.
photos and they're visualizing it.
Oh, yeah.
And they know what surgery there'll be and what the
Yeah,
drugs are.
and you know, it wouldn't be unusual to actually get brain cancer.
No,
You've left yourself open. And that's not saying that everybody that gets brain cancer has it happen, but
no.
I've seen that happen, not with brain cancer, but other things.
It happens a lot with colds and flu.
And,
and yes, because, and it's one of the things that's really kind of dastardly about the pharmaceutical business. I mean, they come on and announce it is cold and flu season. You are probably going, when you get a cold, you should use this
Here's what you should do.
Yes, you will need NyQuil or whatever. And that is, and that kind of goes, and because you're not paying attention and your mind is kind of open, those things go in your subconscious and you're thinking, and you've seen it, it's like a visual thing and there's sounds and you're like, it's cold and flu season, I better get some medicine because I'm surely going to be sick.
Right. So there's that. And there is the reality of flu season. There's the reality of
it's
flu.
Real. Yeah.
So there's such a balance all the time. You know, it's
but if you are always thinking, this is what I do, I always think I never get sick.
I tend not to get sick.
And I never get sick. So I mean, I don't want to jinx myself, and I'm impervious to anything, but I know that about cold and flu season. So I just immediately, I always think, oh, that doesn't pertain to me because I never get sick. But you can be, I mean, just like cold and flu season and looking up something on the internet, you can, put yourself in a position where things start to change and you can make things happen with your brain. That's how everything happens.
Well, I remember one time, an injury too. Happens all the time with injury. That's why when I work on it a lot with the crystals, I ask people, if this injury had a voice, what would it say? And you can work with that. But I remember clearly years ago, in my early 20s, I was a ballet dancer. I went to New York and did the whole thing. And one day I was just tired. I was like, I didn't want to do one more rehearsal, one more class. I was just tired. And I thought, and I remember it was a very fleeting, subtle thought, but it was like, if I get injured, I can get a break. So I went out and did a grand jeté and landed on my metatarsal in my foot, which put me out for about 2 weeks. And as soon as I did that, I remembered I had that thought. It's like, oh.
You have to, yes, your subconscious doesn't know good from bad or right from wrong or any of that. It just gets a clear message and things happen.
Things happen.
Yeah, it was a real clear, strong message. I did the same thing once. I thought I had all this work. I was freelance and I depended on having a lot of work. And I had this really clear thought of, gee, I wish I had some time to do my own work. And I just felt like the universe clicked into place. And the very next thing, someone called me up and said, we're putting that project off. And then I didn't have any work.
And you did your own work,
I could do my own work, but my own work didn't pay. I mean, it isn't really what I wanted to have happen, but it was like a really clear thought, and it immediately materialized.
Well, that's why as a crystal healer, I work so much with thought, but not only the person I'm working with, but mine. I mean, if someone comes up to me and they go, well, like I'm working on a woman now who has broke her wrist in 20 million pieces, and it's kind of twisted the way they put it back. And she has nerve damage and, ligament damage, and it's pretty intense. So she can hardly move. And then she has a reaction to it of inflammation, extreme inflammation, which makes it all worse. So, I looked at that. She wanted me to work with my stones. And so I, of course, said yes. But my initial thought when I went in there was, I can't do. I mean, I can't do this. It's a bone. I'm wrong, or. but I had to put that aside because there is no way I would be able to be a channel for that healing with even an iota of that thought. So a lot of the skill in being a good healer is develop the ability to focus and put those thoughts aside, put those expectancies aside, accept the expectancy that healing would happen, not even the way you may think it'll happen. Healing will happen. I am a conduit through which healing happens, and you keep your mind clear.
Well, I think what you said there was really important. You said, I thought I can't do this. And then by being able to say, well, I'm not going to be the one doing it. No. I'm just going to be a channel for healing. That I was going to ask you, how do you separate that out? But I could see really clearly, you aren't going to be the one.
No,
You're just
I put my mind aside. Those thoughts are a whole different plane, and I sort of switch into this different consciousness, if you will, and start working with my stones. And even when I'm taking stones out of my cases and laying them out, they're talking to me about, oh, this one won't help. Oh, this one I should use. And I put that in. And by the time I'm through, I have a collection and I feel like, okay, this is enough to work with this. So I'm getting a connection with the crystals at the same time I'm freeing my mind, my expectancies, and the idea that that individual consciousness, I put it aside, and then I'm in tune with the person, with the stones, and healing happens.
Yeah.
But it may not happen like I think it will.
And we probably shouldn't be making that decision.
No, well, you have an intention of healing should happen.
Yeah.
And you have a general idea what you'd like to see. And if it doesn't look that way, you don't give up.
Yeah.
You keep working.
Well, it's kind of like you hope for a positive outcome, or you're working for a positive outcome, and we don't know what that'll look like. Yeah. It's just going to be positive, and it may be not what we expect.
Yeah. I mean, like the classic example is someone is near death and you work with them and they die. Does that mean your healing didn't happen? Maybe that was the better outcome. You don't know.
Yes. Yeah. That's the thing. We assume too much. We can't assume something is better, and we don't know. That's the one interesting thing is when I always think when I'm working with someone, I don't know the greater path of their life. I don't know where they're on the path. I don't know where the path is going. I don't know how much they've already overcome, or if they're headed to the thing they want, or if they have to overcome this thing to get the thing they want. You just don't know. So
you don't know.
Yeah, it's just we can't put names on things or assumptions is the scary. I think
names and assumptions, don't name it. I mean, it's hard to explain, but when I'm doing a healing work and say I'm going over the aura, over the body and feeling what's happening energetically with all of the organs and bones and so forth, and I go over, say in this case, the heart center, and it's like, whoa, a lot of heat, a lot of activity here, something's going on. And I don't say, oh, it's heart congestion. Oh, I say, heart. And then I let that go. It's like, okay, let's feel this. Oh, down here. Oh, solar plexus. Could these be kidney? Maybe kidney. No, I don't name it. And then I work with it energetically. I mean, I may have an idea, and especially later when I think about it, I go, whoa, that was da 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 da. So on one hand, I know the organ, I know what I'm doing. On the other hand, I haven't named, I let go of the naming and the expectancies,
Yeah, that happens when I coach people. Sometimes they'll be talking and I will get I'll get an idea. I'll think, I know what's wrong, or I know where they're going, or I know what the issue is. And sometimes I'm right, but I've often been wrong. I never operate
Yeah.
on that. I always put it aside. It's just an idea that came, but
Yeah.
because of that very thing, because if you do it enough, you realize you're wrong a lot. I mean, sometimes your brain is just getting involved, whether you are asking for
Yeah.
it
The
or not.
work is,
Yeah.
again, taking that.
Yeah.
Not that we have to be stupid, it's different, but you're not using your intellectual mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your intellectual mind, you give it a premise and it will figure anything out logically.
Yeah. It wants to find an answer.
So it's not reliable in this case.
No, your brain just wants to close loops. It wants to make sure we need this to close. We got to figure out this happened, that must mean this, and we can move on. Yeah, and it's very
and you've got a subject object, so you create it. You're maintaining the idea of yourself as a separate individual, and then you're separate from that person, and then your mind gets involved. Well, we're two separate beings, so I can't work on this separate being and this separate problem. No, when you are in a different sort of awareness, it's beyond this intellectual, you just don't even think in those terms. You are just being, I guess.
That's a good way of putting it. You're just being.
Yeah. And through you, I mean, I'm well trained on, crystal, stones, yoga, a lot of stuff. I am well trained. I'm not saying not to get the training, but when you do your work, that training allows you then, when you are in a higher awareness, and I don't like to use higher, maybe expanded, different, altered. Yeah. You let go of the intellect, but you've got tools and you will be guided then how to use them. But if you're in your intellect, you go, well, gee, I read that this chrysocolla needs to go on this throat chakra. Okay, so I'm going to put it there. Maybe not, but you would have no clue if you couldn't tune in at a different
you
level.
really need to tune in to the rest of the universe. It's great to know because you want to know which stone that is, but the vast amount of information that can come to you that would be much more helpful is out there. I want to ask you about something else. So about entrainment. So if you have a healthy vibration and a strong vibration, people can benefit just by being in your vicinity.
They'll feel better. They'll feel happier.
Yeah, they tune to you because your vibration is stronger, and that's a help.
And it's like my crystal healing work. I don't have an office, I have a healing attitude. It's just flows from me, I guess. So I tend to attract people that I can see, what's out of balance, and then some may ask me about it, and then I work with them. That's all I do. I work with everybody who asks me, I mean, you just walk around with a healing attitude. You can walk around happy. Like you said, compliment people. It makes you feel good, and them.
Yeah, it's a nice little circle.
I mean, don't lie outrageously. Like,
you can't. No, you have to be authentic.
They know that. Oh, those purple palm tree and hummingbird pink shorts look great on you.
On you, it works.
Far from here.
Well, we're at 30 minutes, so we should probably. Do you have any last thoughts about, like, to sum up the importance of your mindset with healing?
Well, I hope listening to this, you would get the idea. I mean, that mind-body connection is so vital to be able to experience it and work with it and know about it.
Yeah, and know about it and allow it. Yeah. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for a fun conversation.
Next time.
Yeah, we'll meet again. Oh, before
Yeah,
we go,
and I was going to say to people that may be listening to this, go ahead, subscribe, and you can, let us know if you like this. We're going to keep doing more conversations.
Yeah, or things you'd
and
like
we'd
to know.
like to hear from you.
Yeah, if you have questions, put them in there.
Yeah.
And where can people find out more from you?
Oh boy, my website, umasilbey.com, UMAS like Sam, ILB like boy, EY.com. You can find out everything. It's got my books on it, my music, my jewelry, and a lot of information. Lots and lots of information. Yeah.
Perfect.
And
Thank you so much.
in.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. I'll see you.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.